I even reached the cliff, the edge of the cliff, that cliff. I was ready to end it all. Welcome to Drive to Thrive podcast, where breakdowns become breakthroughs. I'm your host, Coach Mike Mack, and this convoy is built for divorced dads who are navigating the long haul after divorce. Now, look, we don't sugarcoat it. We talk exactly what we need to do, all right? And it's about roadblocks, real storms, real tools to keep your rig rolling. Because in this convoy, no brother drives alone. Brothers, we've been rolling down a road called the Div Dad Highway. That long stretch of road we all find ourselves on after divorce. And like any highway, there are exits along the way. We've already pulled off at a few. Now I put my EMT hat on and we talked triage that first 24 hours after the divorce bomb hits. Then we parked our rig there in the financial exit, the financial snapshot that you need to take. Make sure your rig doesn't get a financial flat tire along this journey. Then we pulled into the dad pad and we talked about how to build a dad pad, not a bachelor pad, but you build it from the inside out. We went on a tour of the dad pad because you can't lead your family if you're at a bachelor pad and your mind is bachelor pad and the inside of you is crumbling because there's no foundation. Today, we're pulling off at one of the toughest exits of all. I'm calling it the grief wave because this ride, it isn't just about paperwork and parenting. It's about surviving the storm that happens on the inside of us, the mental storm, the emotional storm, and it can hit you mile after mile. Now look, in the group, I took a little poll and I found out this isn't just my story because I asked the convoy, our divorced dad support group, about this grief wave and about when this grief wave hits. Okay, so for half the dads, the grief wave slams them just out of nowhere. It's random. For another quarter of us, it still shows up at late at night. Okay? Now, look, if you've been hit by the grief wave, whether it's days, months, or even years later, you're not alone. This wave, this grief wave, it's real, and it rolls through almost every divorced dad, I call them div dads, on this highway. Now, that's why today we're pulling off at this exit and talk about how to survive the grief wave without ending up on the side of the highway. Now, brothers, I know this road quite well. In fact, I think I've driven this grief road or stretch of road more times than when I was on a dedicated run going from Chicago to Kansas City, okay, back and forth. And let me tell you, the road of grief after divorce, it's longer, it's rougher, it's full of unexpected potholes than any run I've ever made behind the wheel, all right? It's when the divorce bomb drops, it can wreck the whole scene around you. And I've seen some pretty bad accidents out on the highway. And then what they do is they stop you, right? You end up in a traffic jam. And it doesn't just wreck this, it doesn't affect just the persons in the accident, it affects the people around you. And it sends you into some waves of different, the grief has different stages. And we're going to talk about those today. There's anger, there's sadness, there's fear, even numbness at times. And you feel like you're drowning. And others, like you're white knuckling it through a storm that you can't control. Today we're going to break down this grief wave. Why it's normal, that's what I want you to understand. It is completely normal to have these grief waves come over you. And we're going to talk about how to ride this grief wave. I don't know about surfing, but it's at least without being capsized. And the tools will help you to stay afloat until the waters calm down again. Okay, the very first stage. This one, it's called the shock or the denial stage. It's the gut punch that makes you say, And I remember these exact words: "This cannot be happening." Okay. Now, I first tasted this shock, this denial, when I was a young teenager. And my mama went into a coughing fit. And she ended up laying down. We thought it was just another coughing spell. What we didn't know is that she had a heart murmur. In those final moments, we all gathered around her bed. And I heard her last words as she gazed, it seemed as if into heaven. She said these words: "Jesus loves me. Jesus loves me." And then she was gone. As a boy, a mama's boy, I didn't know where she went. Okay. All I felt was the shock and that the fear that a big portion of love that I felt as her boy, as her mama boy, is now suddenly gone. Now, I felt that same shock as I walked into the house from work, the house being empty, and I didn't know where my ex-wife had taken the kids. She just up and left one day. And I stood in that doorway staring at that twin bed mattress. Okay. Took me a while to find out where they went, and I freaked out. The house was empty. I didn't know where they went. It was that same gut punch, the same fear of being abandoned and powerless. I didn't realize this, I didn't make this connection until recently, about how, as I was working through this very episode, about how I've experienced this before, as I talked about and prepared, feeling like I've been there 2 times, not just once. And the fear happens that, am I safe? Am I going to ever feel normal again? And I just want you to know that it's important to realize that it's just a stage, all right? Now this next one is anger. And I know I get plenty of messages about how angry we as divorced dads that all along the highway become so angry at her and start calling her names. Angry at yourself, angry at God, angry at the whole world. And I can be honest, this stage, these feelings owned me for way too long. I was angry, just plain angry. Angry at work, angry at friends. The first show of anger is when I finally found where she was, went over to try to reconcile. And she basically said, no way. And I lost it. I let out words I'm not going to repeat on this podcast. You can guess what they are. Starts with an F and a B. Punched a hole in the wall and then drove off mad. So angry. Banging on the steering wheel. Now, see, what I didn't know, my kids, I don't think they witnessed it, but they did hear it. They hear me screaming at their mother and saying these words. Okay? That cost me. That cost me big time. That anger, it doesn't heal anything. It cost me my job. It cost me friendship. It left scars on people that I love. Mainly my kids, right? And I'm not proud of that moment. Maybe you've punched a hole in the wall. You're not alone. You can learn to do things differently. There's a proverb, and I'm going to go to my grandfather's. He was a very religious man. He knew the Bible frontwards and backwards. There's a place in Proverbs, I can't quote the exact verse, but it says, "A soft answer turns away wrath." Now the next part, "But harsh words stirs up anger." I always thought that this meant when you're talking about others, like someone comes at you with anger, you can just repeat or respond with a soft answer and it will turn away their anger. And if you come at someone with harsh words, you're going to stir up anger in them. I've seen that. But it's not just about the outside. What I want you to know is it applies to the inside too. I can say harsh words to myself and I can stir up anger within me. That's powerful. That's powerful right there. And I would say words like, you're so worthless. You blew it. You're so damn stupid. And it stirs that inner anger. But then what about the soft answers? Ones that say, I messed up, but I'm going to learn to be better. My kids still need me. I'm not done yet. Those kinds of words turns down the heat because anger, rage, it's hot, okay? Now the next stage is called bargaining. Now this stage, it can be endless. It's an endless loop of what ifs. What if I had just done this? Or what if I said this thing? Maybe she would have come back. If I just said that, maybe it would all be different. And I would spend nights chasing these thoughts. It's like trying to drive backwards down the highway, okay? Desperate to undo whatever road you've driven down. Now in a big rig, have you ever tried to back a big rig down a road at night, one lane? Yeah, I did it, okay? I got lost down a one lane. I was so tired, 2:00 in the morning, went down the wrong road, started out pavement lines, and I kept going and went to no lines, still had asphalt, and then I went to dirt road. You would think I would stop there, but I didn't. I was thinking, dude, and I drove about 1.5 miles down this road. Guess what I had to do? It took me 2 hours to back my rig back out of that road. Now, in real life, it's impossible. It's dangerous to try to, can you imagine try to backing down the highway? It's just not going to work. Bargaining is about trying to fix things that cannot be fixed. That's what the bargaining thing is. You're not going to be able to earn back what you lost. You're not going to be able to say something that's going to change something. You can't bargain with reality. That's just, the love and the healing, they're not going to come from rewinding. They're not going to come by staring at the rearview mirror. It's going to come from learning how to drive forward again, how to look through the windshield at what's coming ahead. Now, when bargaining burns out, there's a heaviness that begins to set in. Depression, even anxiety. I know these two words very well. This was my darkest valley. I didn't think life was worth living anymore. After the shock, the anger, and then the bargaining. I went through these stages in order. Some people may have them in different, and you might have depression start at the very beginning. I don't know. But what I want you to know is that depression, it's a liar. It tells you that the pain will never end and that you are powerless. But the truth is neither of those things. I parked in this valley, this pit of despair for way too long. Some days I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't take showers. I didn't take care of myself. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't do any of those things because it was the fear, right? There's fear that says this pain's going to last forever and I'll never get back up. Those were the feelings that I had. And when you believe that lie, the despair gets deeper and deeper. I even reached the cliff, the edge of the cliff, that cliff. I was ready to end it all. My dog Coco laid her head on my lap at just the right time. If it weren't for her, if it weren't for my dog, I wouldn't be here recording this very episode right now. Brothers, what's your Coco? My dog's name was Coco. Find that thing that reminds you to hold on. It could be your kids. It could be a dog. It could be a friend. It could be this very convoy. What's the one thing that reminds you to hold on? Because fear is going to scream so loud it drowns out everything else. But then the love, it whispers, hey, you matter. The pain, it's real, but it's temporary. Don't believe the lies that depression tells you. You're still loved. You're still needed. You're still worth living for. If love can come through the gentle presence of a dog like my Coco, it can come through people. It can come through friends. It can come through just small little anchors in your life. Pay attention. Those little reminders of love can literally save a life. Maybe yours. But here's what I've learned, okay? Depression, this wave, it's going to come, all right? And it's going to affect the whole body, but it's a visitor. It's not your landlord, okay? Depression doesn't own a lease on your life. Even just little small acts, okay? Small little acts. Making your bed. I started doing that. Making a bed. Go for a walk. Write in a journal. Jump online and do something. Not scroll. No. I'm talking about jumping online and being able to talk with Chat GPT. I do that. Many of you know that. Even small acts can help you to start moving again. Don't do some do and try to put it into 8th gear, fully loaded semi. I've done this. That's giving a big list. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do this. And you got a list of about 10 things. That's like putting in 10th gear and then trying to move your fully loaded semi. Don't do that. Don't be like me. Find that granny gear. It's slow, but it's sure, and you will start having some movement, some momentum. Back then, therapy didn't save me. But I want you to know therapy does have its place. I was too proud to go to therapy, to ask for any kind of help. What helped me most, it's still a mystery to me. 6 years ago, I began to listen to folks like Tony Robbins, Simon Sinek, Mel Robbins, so many more. I bet you I've logged probably 10,000 plus hours of listening as I drove the big rig back and forth across this great country. But back after my wife left, more than 20 years ago, I went back to my ranch. I wasn't doing those things. I wish I were. But back then I went back to my ranch roots, going from farm to farm, and I traded my skills and time for a place to sleep and food to eat. Okay. And that season, it probably doesn't look like any kind of traditional therapy. It was more like survival, but it was my decade-long therapy session. That's what I call it. But here's the truth. Healing doesn't look the same for every brother. For some, therapy's the lifeline. For others, it's mentor, faith, music, work, even the steady presence of a dog. Now, what matters is finding what keeps you alive, keeps you and gets you moving forward until that fog, that depression can lift. Let me say it again. If you didn't catch it the first time, depression is a liar. Don't believe depression. The storm is not permanent. The pain will get better. All right. Acceptance. Acceptance. It's not the happy ending. It's not about forgetting the loss. It's simply accepting what happened and deciding to keep moving or to get moving. For me, acceptance came very slowly, and I was stuck for a long time. And I tried to do many things, and when I finally realized that my marriage was over and my life wasn't, that's when I began to realize I can actually build something for me. Even though the future is uncertain. The future for everyone is uncertain. It's just like driving down the road and you're coming up on a curve. You don't know what's on the other side, around that curve or over the next rise. You don't know that when you're driving. You just don't. And that's the same for life. The future might be uncertain. Love, healing is still going to be there. Love is what anchors me. It carries me. It gives me the courage to move forward, to do the things that I do here in this podcast. The foundation emotion for me is love. And that's what acceptance really is. It's driving, even when you got that fear in the cab of the future. All right? I want to take you back to what my mama's last words were. Jesus loves me. Love was still there, even though she had passed. And in my divorce, love is still there. It was underneath. Took a while for it to come back up. And I was finally able to release her with love, as Gio said in many of our podcasts, just being able to release her with love. Love anchors you through the shock. It calms you in anger. It silences the bargaining, lifts you in depression, and carries you into acceptance. All right? The grief wave, it can feel like it comes at any time. It can be endless, but it's not always going to be that heavy. Each wave that you ride, it makes you stronger, more resilient, more anchored in who you are. Here's a little grief wave checklist for you. The shock and denial. Name it. Know that it's going to be there. Acknowledge the fear, basically, of what's missing now. Anger. Number 2 is anger. Don't let the rage be in the driver's seat. It's dangerous. You're going to lose a lot of things that mean a lot to you. Soften your answers on the inside. Helped me. And outward. But more importantly, that inward, soften your answers to turn away that anger on the inside. It helps. Number 3, bargaining. Stop trying to drive backwards down the highway. Choose to move forward, even in granny gear. Okay, granny gear can be slow, but it's sure. Depression. Number 4, depression, anxiety. Remember, depression is a visitor. It's not your landlord with a lease on your life. Also, depression is a liar. Number 5, acceptance. Keep moving forward even when you've got fears and depression and anxiety and all these heavy emotions. If you're in the middle of the storm right now, hold on. Waves, they pass. You'll not feel like this forever. And every mile that you keep driving, you're building the man, the dad that your kids need, and the future you deserves. Look, I'm just gonna close where my mama left me. Okay, those words, Jesus loves me. And I want you to know that Jesus loves you. The truth is still that truth, the truth of love is still an anchor for me. I don't broadcast the fact that I'm Christian and that Jesus, I know this for me. I'm not evangelical, is that the word? I'm not going to tell everybody. I don't wear that out on my sleeve. I have that in my heart. But I want you to know, love is the thread that will get you through every stage of these waves of grief. Love is what's going to help carry you and me forward. One last reminder, depression is a liar. Don't believe it. I'm Coach Mike Mack. This is the Drive to Thrive podcast, where breakdowns become breakthroughs. Please share this with a brother who's drowning in that grief wave and remind him, in this convoy, no man drives alone.